Hello there and welcome to the Empowered Marriage Podcast. My name is Helen Harrison and I'm from Power of Change Counselling and Coaching. And so you're listening to podcast number 44, How to Encourage Your Partner to Express Emotion. So I think this is a really important podcast because if you're with a partner who doesn't express emotion, you are going to struggle with that. Because if you are someone who does express emotion, you'd like to get emotion back from your partner. And I see that a lot in my counselling sessions where the person who's on the receiving end, meaning they're with a partner who doesn't express emotion, they struggle with it. I've made a few pointers as to how it can actually affect you. What does happen over time, it actually erodes your relationship. And trust can start to be affected. Intimacy, connection, that feeling of closeness. You get a room full of women together and you ask them, what do they want? What are they missing more than anything in their relationship? And, I need to find the scientific backing and the papers to back me on this, but I would have to say that most of the women would say, I want to feel my partner. I want to feel emotional connection. And I don't want to put everybody in the same boat. But for a lot of women, they feel that they're not getting that emotional connection from their partner. And they really, really struggle with that. So that is what this podcast 44 is all about, is how to actually encourage your partner to express emotion. Because if you nag them or criticize them or attack them or say what they're not doing, is that going to encourage your partner to want to be more emotional and to share? No, it isn't. It isn't at all. So, when I'm working with couples, and whether it be the female or male, I don't want to typecast here, but, whether it's the female or male who doesn't do emotion, I ask them, so, why? Why don't you? I've got a few points here. Well, I need to be in control, because if I'm not in control, then I feel really unsafe. And it can bring on anxiety and stress. So if I park the emotion, I'm not going to go there. And then because I need to be in control. Another one, a big one, is that people worry that if they let those floodgates open, it's then, am I going to be able to shut them? Another one is emotions. They can be very overwhelming. And I don't know how to be with that, so I just shut it down. Another big one that I get is, my dad told me not to cry, particularly for males. Boys don't cry. Just stop being a girl. All of this has a real bearing on the emotional intimacy you're going to have with your partner. So what you tend to do is to push down and park your emotions. I may have already said this on podcasts before, but I went and saw a counsellor. And it was the first time, and that's actually when I really thought, man, I think I need to become a counsellor. It wasn't until quite a bit after, but I started seeing a counsellor and I started sharing my emotions. I hadn't shared my emotions. I'd shut all of that down. There are so many reasons why we do. I mean, for me, I was raised in a really large family. Emotions, no, we just live from the head up. So I parked all that away. But then in my early 20s, the pressure cooker in me, I started to feel like I was freaking going to lose it. So, and it wasn't until into my 30s before I actually started getting some really proper help, because I had shut all of it down. I remember the counsellor saying to me, so what are you feeling, Helen? I had no idea. I was so shut down from my feelings. And it's really, really hard if you're in a relationship with someone who is emotionally shut down and who isn't able to express their emotions. So if you're listening to this and perhaps your marriage or your relationship isn't as close as it could be, your first place to start is asking yourself, do I express my emotions. I can't express enough how important it is to express your emotions. And when you first begin, it can be quite overwhelming because you can't control emotions. The thing is, emotions are energy, and the energy flows in. And if you let go of any resistance to it and let it flow on through you, you may have some really strong, overwhelming emotions, but it will pass and it will flow on out. However, if you haven't done this before, it can be very confronting and quite scary. So it's actually being ultimately navigating your emotions in a really healthy way, and perhaps seeking some support if you need to do that. So I've listed 3 ways here of how to encourage your partner to express emotions. The first one is invite your partner's emotions. Invite. It's not nag or attack or tell or instigate or try and control. People, particularly around this topic, aren't going to be forthright if this isn't what you normally do. So the first, number 1, would be invite your partner's emotions. And so how do you set the stage for that? Create some space daily to actually just sit and be, and let go of any type of control. And your partner, little by little, may see, actually, this is a safe place. I can begin to express what I'm feeling. And creating a regular routine so that your partner can begin to share their feelings. You got to give this space and time. It's not something you can control. It's not a machine that you turn on and off. You're wanting to encourage your partner to express emotion. Number 1, invite your partner's emotions and don't put an agenda on it. That'd be number 1. Number 2 is don't judge your partner's emotions. It's really important that your partner knows that they can say what they're feeling and what they're thinking, and then emotions may come up, and that you're not going to criticize or judge or attack or do any of those behaviors that are going to shut that down. So don't judge your partner's emotions. They're going to be having a hard enough time. You know, for us extroverts and ones who do emotions, this is easy. But I will say I didn't always, like I just said earlier, I haven't always been able to do emotions. This has been years of work to actually allow myself. It's just taken me in speaking into this now. Back when I was a kid, like I said, I'm from a really large family. I'm adopted, 7 in our family adopted from all countries around the world, very multicultural family, and my adopted parents also adopted 3 of their own. So there were 10 children, if you can add that up. 7 and 3 is 10. And so I actually was really connected to emotions, because I remember I would, say for example, come home from school and I would just check out energetically what sort of mood my mum was in, as to what I could talk to her about, because she had a lot on her plate. And, you know, the adult in me now can really understand she did the best that she could possibly do. But as a kid at times, you know, I wasn't able to share. Particularly, I don't want to make this a thing around adoption, but if you're adopted, there is some things that can come up for you. And it's if you're in an environment where you can talk about them. I remember at 13 waking up one day, and it was like the worry part of my mind had just started, just bang. And was I able to talk about this with my mum? No. And I didn't understand it. I found it really, really difficult. I would worry. I just worry constantly about absolutely everything. And of course it was fear. It was also my own trauma now as an adult, looking back in the work that I've done. However, it's understanding all of this. So how have I got to where I've got to? This is why I write things down, because I go off on this tangent. Don't judge your partner's emotions. And, okay, this is where I went with this, is that as a teenager particularly, I'd just check in, see where my mum was at as to how much I could talk about. So as adults now, you don't want to have to work out where your partner's at to then be able to share. The idea in an empowered marriage is you both share honestly, truthfully, you're transparent. However, if you are with a partner who isn't able to express their emotions, you've got to create a space and to hold that space. That's where I'm going with this. See, my mum was not able to do that. So that was a pattern that I kept going in my life, is keeping the emotions in, which I don't do now. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about me talking and hopefully equipping you with some tools. So don't judge your partner's emotions. Create space, a really welcoming space. So whatever comes up for your partner, they're able to share that with you. You know, it's about being able to be vulnerable. And let's speak into this for men. Often men, you don't like to be vulnerable. And however, if you want intimacy and emotional connection, being able to be vulnerable with your partner, that is just incredible. And women, it's not about you fixing it or putting your like your fix-it hat on. Just hold the space and allow. It's a really beautiful thing. The third part in how to encourage your partner to express emotion, the third part, pay attention to your own reactions. That's a big one. It's exactly the same like in judging your partner's emotions. Are you judging your own emotions? You know, do you find yourself, so if your partner is beginning to share what's coming up for you, are you becoming defensive? Are you becoming angry? Are you becoming resentful? If you are encouraging your partner to express emotion and then you start having really strong reactions and you then project and become defensive, is your partner going to express emotion with you? No, they're not. So what I encourage you to do, if that starts to come up for you, actually take some time yourself to explore that within yourself. You know, marriage is fantastic opportunities to actually own your own woundings, your own baggage. And particularly, I don't want to talk a lot into the coronavirus because there's just talk everywhere, but you would have been in close proximity and you wouldn't have your defenses, that's probably the wrong word. The things that would you could go off and be busy with, that's no longer there. So the elephant in the room, perhaps you've had to address it, or perhaps you haven't addressed it and it's still sitting there. It's paying attention to your own reactions. And sometimes you may need time out. So as you begin to work with this, so this is encouraging your partner to express emotion. You've invited your partner in. You're creating a safe place, a regular routine, and a nice habit for your partner to begin sharing. You then, you're not judging, and you're not judging your partner's emotions. You're allowing whatever is there to come up. You're inviting them in. So now you've got to this place where, okay, your partner is expressing emotion. They are cycling through different things, and now you've actually noticed that you're beginning to feel these strong emotions. And if it gets to a point where then you go project back onto your partner, this is learning how to take time out and actually frame it up beforehand, and you'll just time out and your partner will know exactly what that means. So what time out is for you to connect with yourself and your own emotions, because they become very heightened. You would know if you get in an argument, if there's conflict, you know, depending on your own wounding, from childhood. You might go into fight, you might go into flight, you might go into freeze. I've talked about this in previous podcasts. What's your go-to? And so learning how to take time out. You're encouraging your partner to express emotion. They've begun to do this. However, you're now being triggered. So take time out, reflect in, go to self, SELF. I've talked about this in previous podcasts. S is stop. Just breathe. The E, inquire. What's going on? Oh God, I've been triggered. He says I'm lazy. So inquire. Go inside. Inquire about that. L, love yourself enough to give yourself what you need. What do you need? Okay. And so it's checking in. SELF, and F, fill yourself up. So the inquiry is inquiring, okay, what am I feeling? He says I'm lazy. Well, that makes me agitated, resentful, frustrated, confused. How dare he? Just notice it. Because all of this has come about because you have wanted your partner to express emotion. So be prepared for this. If your partner begins expressing emotion because you want to feel closer and feel more intimacy and connection, you've got to be prepared for what may come up in you. You may have picked a partner who doesn't express emotion, and you may have done that on purpose. And now they're starting to express emotion. Oh, what's coming up in me? So there's a little bit in this, but it's exploring, it's exciting, particularly if you're in lockdown. You could be noticing some real changes in your relationship because you are connected together. It is the most amazing opportunity to do work on yourself, not project, not attack, not be defensive. Take time out. What's going on inside of me? Because we're very, very good at self-abandoning and rejecting, and we'll just throw all the mud back at you. However, bring it back. What's going on? Now, I don't want to go too off tangent here. This podcast is how to encourage your partner to express emotion. Biggest thing is create a regular, consistent, safe space where your partner can begin, and do not put I suppose you should have this sorted now, and you're sort of 2 months in and you've been doing this regularly and your partner's still not expressing emotion. You know what? Your partner may not want to do that. And it's okay. Am I okay with that? It's working out what you want. And because you can't make your partner change. You really can't. It's the only one you can work with is you, and do what is in your ability, in your circle of control, and what that looks like. So I think I've said everything that I've wanted to say about this. And the reason I've done this podcast, How to Encourage Your Partner to Express Emotion, it's a big one. I get this in because I actually do create a space for people to begin expressing their emotion. There's something about working with a therapist that, because if you're with a partner who triggers easily, you're not able to express emotion. However, working with a therapist and creating that safe space, you then can go there and your partner will still stay there, and you've also got a professional to help mediate and to guide and to support. So there's some real value in this. Look, I hope I haven't been everywhere too much with this, but just work with it. How to encourage your partner to express emotion. And bring it back to yourself. How can I encourage me to express emotion? And it's being able to be more vulnerable, being able to let the guard down. Have I got baggage that I need to look at? Big topics. I'm going to stop talking now. So if any of this has been helpful, This will be on my website. I also make it into a blog. So the www.powerofchange.com.au. I also, so I do counselling, coaching, psychotherapy, work with individuals, work with couples, face-to-face or online. And also I have fabulous courses now, which is fantastic. Changed my life, self-empowerment course, mindset course, lots of different courses, marriage tune-up course, and I've got Make My Marriage Great coming in the next few months. So anyway, take care and enjoy living your empowered life in your empowered marriage.